everybody, I'm Lacy Schoen, founder of Real Women, Real Success, and today I'm continuing my series on interviewing women on women competing in the workplace. And I'm working with top leaders in business and in government, and today I'm chatting with Jolynn Atkins, who is the Client Experience Manager here at MacKenzie Corporation. So before we get started, welcome. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor. Thank you.
Tell us what a Client Experience Manager is. That's a pretty cool title.
It is a pretty cool title. And I had the opportunity to actually create my title when I came to work for MacKenzie Corporation.
Nice.
Yes. And when they hired me, they were looking for somebody who could really extend the experience and manage the clients from an experiential way. So rather than just seeing clients as a number or seeing people as a number, it's engaging the clients, engaging their process, engaging all the people, and just making sure overall that they have a great experience.
Like it's a relationship.
Absolutely.
That's great. One of the things that we'll talk about in a little while is the value of relationships when you're dealing with dysfunctional behavior. So let's launch right in to women competing with each other. I want to start with some stats and get your take on them.
Great.
These are stats I'm really honed in on. You all have heard these before, but I'm going to say them again. Women are 50% of the population and 57% of college graduates. And yet we're only 5% of Fortune 500 company CEOs. We are 14% of government leadership, top leadership, and we receive only 2.7% of venture capital, meaning men get over 97%. And the most recent and staggering stat that I've run across is that there's more CEOs in the United States named David than there are women CEOs. So we're focused on how we aren't helping each other as women, not necessarily me and Jolynn, but how we could be helping each other rather than hurting each other, and what are some of the strategies. But in addition to that, what are some of your thoughts on why our leadership numbers are so low?
It's interesting. I liked a couple of those stats, and I just have to say the David one was a new one that you just proposed to me. And ironically, my husband's name is David, so it made me chuckle. Yes, and not yet. But it just made me chuckle that that's probably just such a common name. But to your point, that more men in that stat of 97.3% of venture capital and venture investment goes to men. I think my thoughts around that was just truly, I'm not sure that we as women are leveraging our resources and finding capital investments, and or we don't have the confidence to go after it, and saying that we automatically look at the stats and just assume that, oh, well, they're just going to get that because I'm a huge proponent of resources and sharing resources, women in business certifications. We're a women-owned business here at MacKenzie, and how do we leverage that to our benefit? And if you watch shows like the Shark Tank, there are more and more women that are getting on the Shark Tank, and now they have 2 women sharks and sometimes 3 women sharks. So I think it's really just reaching out to our resources and not letting that number scare us.
Not letting that number scare us. I love that. And did you know, since you mentioned Shark Tank, that Kevin O'Leary had his top staff evaluate what all his top performing companies had in common? And you know what? They all
women leaders.
They were all women leaders.
They had a little blurb on it, and I saved it. I was going to send it to you. Actually, it was he interviewed 2 women sisters. That was one of his top performing companies, and he said that Mr. Wonderful.
Yeah.
You would think would be more men focused or good old boys, and he's not. He leverages the women and sees how successful they are.
He's money focused.
Yes, he is.
So it's a profit deal.
That's right. It's a win-win. That's right. Yes.
So do you think then that women hold each other back at all in work environments?
I think that, and we've had great conversations about this, and I put a lot of thought into that. I think truly it is more of a perception that women are holding each other back. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, and some of us have had experiences, but I think that when I step back, it's more of a perception, and how do we change that perception? And I'm sure we'll talk more about that.
Yeah. So then let me ask you this. Have you ever been challenged or had another female in the workplace engage in any kind of dysfunctional behavior that you felt harmed you or undermined you in any way?
I've been blessed in the opportunity that I haven't had that, but I've been witness to it and working in large organizations, been able to see when we've had reorganizations or layoffs, rifts, however you want to call it, reduction in force. And I think it's not only women, although the women tend to be in the spotlight when that happens.
Sure.
There's more of us in the workforce in some cases, and that middle management director level, but it's been men too. I mean, just everybody sadly throwing people under the bus.
Yeah.
Taking credit for other people's work and truly just competing in every nature just to save their own role, or their perception of saving their own role, rather than using their strengths to show everybody truly what their skill set is.
Right. Well, you bring up a really good point. I was just speaking on the East Coast to 100 women who were really interested in this issue of competing. And it was a 2-day conference, and there were actually 5 men there. Out of 100, there were 5 men there.
Yes.
And I was really impressed by that. And I thought, well, as they get into leadership roles, perhaps then they know the issues that women deal with, and they can manage it. Out of the 100, only 2 women said they never had this experience.
Interesting.
And as I questioned them, it started at the top, right? If your CEO and your top leadership is not going to put up with dysfunctional behavior, they won't put up with it.
Right.
Not everybody has that benefit. So for the women that watch this, that are in a situation where they might have someone who's not being the best to them, female or otherwise in the workplace, do you have any advice for them?
I do. And I think what I share with all women leaders in general, and Lacy and I had a great conversation about this, is truly just bringing women into you. So engaging those women, obviously non-confrontational. When I say engage, like reaching out to them, extending the olive branch to them, take them to coffee, take them to lunch, learn more about who they are, because my guess is that they've had something in their past that has caused them to be the way that they are. So truly just bringing them into, as we say at MacKenzie, bringing them into your tribe and your community or your besties, and reaching out to them and just having a conversation and level set. I would say that about any coworkers, but I think truly women just need to kind of set a foundation, clear the air wherever it is, have a conversation and a dialogue, and just learn how that you can leverage each other's skill sets and work together as a team.
Right. And I think, that's such an important point that you bring up, because it shows leadership and it shows the effort to build a different culture of women supporting women.
Right.
And I think I would take it even a step further and talk about women sponsoring each other.
Agreed.
That's the one thing that doesn't get talked about as much as just mentoring.
True.
Have you ever sponsored any other women, and how did you go about doing that?
And that's my favorite topic. So as a leader in my previous organization prior to MacKenzie, and I do that here as well, lifting up, our 2 presidents, Katie Rucker and Jenny Denon. In my previous organization where I was the leader in the vice president role, I was able to sponsor 2 individual women, younger women, millennial women in our organization. And we're a women-owned business, which makes it easier, but just sitting down and having a conversation with them about what their professional goals were, making sure that we kept an open workplace and open dialogue on, and they knew that I was sponsoring them and that they had that open dialogue with me, that just because their title was their title doesn't mean that had to be their day-to-day operations or their day-to-day role or their 5-year stretch or their 3-year stretch, and where does that look? So I just recently read one of my testimonials from one of the employees, and she said that I just provided a nurturing environment in order for women to grow into women. And I think that's truly what sponsorship means as a whole, is just standing behind somebody, helping them stretch their goals, helping them become the best woman that they can be.
Right. So Jolynn, let me ask you this question. You've had the benefit of being in some great work environments. Not everybody is always in that kind of a work environment. And I specifically think about when there's men in leadership, how they view women who are competing or backbiting. Do you have any experience with that? What are your thoughts about how men respond to this kind of behavior?
Right. And I think sadly, most of us as women do it in front of everybody rather than behind closed doors, and can be in a staff meeting, a board meeting. I actually just recently had an experience at a board meeting for an industry association where myself, sadly, and another woman disagreed, and we didn't behave accordingly. So we're not all perfect. Right. But when we're passionate about ideas, I think sometimes they come out in a different way. And I think if we're doing this in front of men, and we have a male president of the association, if we're doing this in front of men, I think we're perceived, it's a blanket opinion of women that we're seen as emotional or dramatic.
Sure.
That it's drama. And that's rather than the passion or the leadership or the strategic mindset and strategic partnership that we truly would want to and could present as a woman.
Right. So what would you do differently, or what would you advise other women who are in that? That's a really common situation.
Yeah,
right?
sadly, yes. I would say as women, come prepared. In most cases, it's not always going to be the best scenario.
Right.
But come prepared, know what you're going to present, be prepared to overcome objections. There's always going to be objections. That's one thing that I've been learning and continue to learn. Every meeting's not going to be perfect. Every interaction is not going to be perfect. So just come prepared, or role play. If you want to role play with another woman or another colleague, make sure you're prepared, and just make sure that you have some level. You practice your emotional intelligence and you're in tune with your emotional intelligence to prevent you from getting hijacked in those situations.
That's really good advice. So let me run another scenario by you that's like that, but I think it could be added on to it. I encourage women sometimes to meet with each other before a meeting.
Yes.
And see if they can get some common ground to support each other around a table like that.
Perfect idea.
Here's what I've seen happen. Is one person speaks, and whether it's a male or a female, people listen and go, oh. Two people speak, or perhaps one speaks and the next one says, I like that idea. Now people's ears are a little bit more in tune. Right. You get a third or a fourth one, and now you've got strength around the table, and people only go with strength. People are risk averse, right?
That's right.
They got to know other people agree.
That's true. Yep.
Before you move forward. So if women can sort of be as strategic as men in that regard, who are noted for getting together, and they call it the good old boys club. I think we need the professional besties club, which is more than supporting each other. It's being strategic.
True.
And so I think there might be some behaviors behind the scenes that could help women come together around a table like that. Do you see that as like
absolutely? And I think here at MacKenzie we do it organically.
Oh, really?
And I think it happens. We have a lot of collaboration. We're always doing those things, helping lift each other up. To your point, I think that's brilliant, and I think we probably don't do it enough. Knowing that you have your anchor, you have your sponsor. And like you said, people are going to run with an idea that has strength. They can also run the opposite way. Right. So if you don't want that impression, and not only that, not lifting each other up as women, but connecting with other colleagues too. It doesn't, in one or two at the table, 3 or 4 is even better.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
And so really take that to heart, guys, because, I've spent 30 years in nonprofit management with boards of 25 or more, and watch men do this over and over and over, create strength around a table. And it didn't take long to figure out, if women could just do that.
True.
But I think sometimes we want to, and I say we, but women want to make our mark or be seen individually. Right. But men often succeed by building strength with each other. So it's something we could learn from.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm going to take it to heart for sure.
Well, It sounds like you already are 3 steps in that direction.
Thank you. Thank you. So kind.
For the women that are watching this that are stuck in a dysfunctional situation, because not everybody has a great work environment.
Right.
What are some of the strategies that you would say they should employ to deal with the behavior or the individual? You said reaching out to the individual is one thing.
True.
Is there any other words of wisdom you would have?
I think, and I wrote some great notes about this. I'm a huge follower. Women, if you don't know Brene Brown, you need to know Brene Brown. Are you familiar with her? She talks about vulnerability and authenticity and confidence and courage and what that means from a woman's perspective. And I think that it truly starts with us. So if you're experiencing that in the workplace, just kind of take a step back, find out who you are. And I wrote some things like just be okay with who we are as a woman. Yeah. And understand that that's who you are. Accepting that we are not perfect or a superwoman to start, and then having the courage to try and fail and learn from your other failures. Because I think that once we accept who we are and acknowledge that that's where we're at, we'll be able to accept others that way and move forward in setting the situation in a better light and just reaching out to grow. My other piece of advice or recommendations, I'm going to say recommendation would be to seek out those women, and maybe not your current employment, but maybe seek them out in your tribe or your community or your besties community, and look for opportunities outside of your place to either get that bucket filled and or go work with those women. Right. And I can say that's what happened here at MacKenzie. I'd known Jenny and Katie for a very long time, and we were doing strategic partnerships and constantly seeking them. And when I was ready to make a change, I reached out to them and said, I want to work for you because of the culture, what the company is doing, everything. So I'm just saying, if it's not in the right environment now, reach out for it because you'll find it.
Sure. So one of the things that Jolynn is a bit modest about, but I'll brag on her, is that I don't think that she has ever actually applied for a job. Am I correct on that? You always have gotten a job from connections. So we've talked about this before where, one of the ways to protect yourself is to always have great relationships.
Correct.
At levels above, at your level and above.
Correct.
That can be helpful within the organization that you're in, or it can help you make a move when it's a situation where there's not going to be a change in your current organization. And I've certainly done both. I've been able to influence an upward trajectory in an organization by the key relationships I had, but also been able to make a change. I can't say I've been able to do what you have done and just have a career based on relationships, but it shows you how powerful relationships can be.
Yes.
So that's another strategy that you all can employ. So are there any last parting thoughts that you want to share with our viewers?
I do have a couple of quotes. Can I share them that have really been resonating with us and me in particular? So Jenny Denon, our president of sales and marketing here, found this quote, and we use it every time we have women's networking and women leaders networking. And I think to your point about relationships, this quote, it fits. It says, "A circle of women may be the most powerful force known to humanity. If you have one, embrace it. If you need one, seek it. If you find one for the love that is good and holy, dive in. You will be changed. The very fabric of your being will be altered." Jeanette LeBlanc. Another one is, I just thought I would share this because I send Lacy these all the time. But it says, "Behind every successful woman is a tribe of other successful women who have her back."
That's awesome.
So reach out and find those women to build your tribe. And for all that is holy, keep them in your tribe.
That is wonderful. So where did this come from? Oops, sorry.
Oh, the internet.
That is a great
I can send it to you, though.
Mission statement
absolutely.
For a professional besties club.
It is.
It certainly is a different culture or mindset than what some women are dealing with. So here's my thought. All ships rise, right? We help each other.
Correct.
All ships rise. There may only be one VP position in this organization, but there's enough room at the top for all of us.
Agreed.
The reason I know that is because there's men in positions like that now, so there's no reason why that couldn't be us.
And we have co-presidents at MacKenzie.
I know.
Two
and this
women
is a
co-presidents.
wonderful organization. If you don't know about MacKenzie Corporation, look them up. A wonderful sister team that leads the company, and it's just they're wonderful people, as are you. So
thank you.
So I want to thank you for spending time with me today. It was really appreciated. I know all the besties out there will like it. And for you all watching, thanks for spending time with us, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.